That's a really good question. I think the reason fans love Wanda and Vision and their relationship so much is I think we all see couples that meet that complete each other, but they complete each other at really bad places within themselves. And I think that Wanda and Vision just complete each other in a really great way, and it's what makes them such a strong unit and powerful fighting unit. When the series starts, we're going to find Wanda and Vision a little confused. They appear to have found themselves in a sort of idyllic American suburban 1950s black and white life, and they realize they're in some sort of sitcom. And then as the episodes progress, they begin to realize that they're hurtling through the American century, decade by decade, week by week, and Vision begins to suspect there's something not quite right about this town. When I first heard of the concept of this show, I thought it was bananas and brilliant. And Kevin and I have been talking about The Visions, which is a really great comic book series that I love about the Vision in suburbia. And then also talking about the House of M, and it just felt like a really great mashup with some American sitcom stuff thrown in too. Well, there are many, and I think that you can it's really interesting if you start studying it like we had to. You see how different they are from where we begin in the 50s to where we end in the sort of aughts with, so we start with the Dick Van Dyke Show and then Bewitched, and then we end up with sort of Malcolm in the Middle and Modern Family. And you go from this incredibly warm 1950s American exceptional optimism to this very cynical, quite cool in tone shows like Malcolm in the Middle and Modern Family in the 90s and the 2000s. I think one of the things I love about this show is how I think everybody was given free rein to be incredibly creative, and we have some extraordinarily fastidious heads of department like Jess Hall, who I've known for years and made a couple of films with, is the DP, and the amount of energy and effort and hours that were put into making sure that we had a incredibly accurate style of photography for each and every one of these eras, and that was across the board. But the costumes were incredibly accurate, the hair and makeup, the wigs, and all the way through to dialect coaching for LIZZIE specifically, to get that sort of strange mid-Atlantic thing that people did in American TV at the time. And indeed the decision by our brilliant director, Matt Shackman, who decided that the first episode had to be shot in front of a live studio audience. I was very resistant to that, but he pushed, and he was right, because it gave us that performative style that I think you can feel in those shows of the 1950s. If I am honest, my favorite costume was my ridiculous 1990s Halloween costume, which is an homage to the original Vision costume from the comics. And it made me look so ridiculous that it was very easy. I didn't have to work too hard for laughs. So when you're making these big movies, Avengers and so forth, Civil War and all of that, there are so many characters that necessarily your time on screen is curtailed, and you're having to pack an awful lot into a very short amount of screen time. Whereas there's something really expansive about this many hours of television that allowed Lizzie and I to really drill down into each of our characters and also their relationship, and that was it was a really fun time. So when it came to shooting episode 1, I remember the day that Matt Shackman told Lizzie and I that we were going to shoot it in front of a live studio audience. And I was really recalcitrant. I dug my heels in. I was not keen on the idea. It had been 20 years since I'd been in front of an audience. And, but he was insistent. And it turns out that he was entirely right. There is a performative style in the Dick Van Dyke Show that you can feel that there is an audience in the room because there's an audience in the room, and they are projecting past the camera to that audience and playing for their laughs, which are in turn taped and the thing that we hear in the television show. And I think it really bonded everybody together. The crew were wearing costumes. We were, of course, wearing costumes, and we were also running behind backstage to you know, bumping into each Catherine Hahn, falling over at the prop table, and then coming on stage, and I think it gave us that sense of style. It gave us a sense of fearlessness, because we were all there and thinking. And Tiana was in the audience because she's not in the first episode, and we were all like, well, I guess this is what the show is. And so you were able to really let go and just go for it after that. It was a great experience. Yes. So Lizzie and I have been making these movies for quite a bit now, and we got to know each other really slowly. And I guess slowly over time, I slowly realized, it dawned on me that she'd never been late on set once, and I love that. And it turns out that we have exactly the same work ethic, and she's fastidious. She always comes to set with an idea, and believe me, that's rarer than you would think. And so do I. And so we're both professional and really want to work at it and really want it to be the focus, you know, of what we're doing. That's why we're there, and we work really hard at it, and she works really hard at it. And I think we, by this point, have come to trust each other so much that it was just very easy to take big risks.
Thank you for watching. Head to sarahscoop.com for more of the scoop on your favorite things.